If you're going into the dating pool and saying, okay, I'm not even going to look at men who are not this height or who don't meet these criteria that are not necessarily reflective of happiness in a relationship, you're doing yourself in.
Right. Or, you know, look, men, if you said to me, like, if I was in the dating pool and you said, well, you have to look at women up to every age, I wouldn't do that either. I mean, we do also have the right to want what we want.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're in a restaurant, you have the right to send it back and say, no, I wanted it well done, you know,
yeah.
or I wanted it rare. Sorry, whatever it is. I mean, so part of me is quick to condemn and say, you superficial hussies. And the other part is like, you know, you got to get what you like or else you're going to have to like what you get.
Yeah.
The problem is there aren't that many. Here's the real problem isn't wanting the perfect guy. The real problem is I feel like this attitude, and again, maybe this is just LA, among women who you don't have that much to offer. You know what you have to offer? You're cute. That's it. And you think that's all you need. You're not smart. You're not cool.
Interesting.
You're not that interesting. You're vapid. And there's 1,000 million chicks out here just like you. And you think you deserve like the upper echelon kind of guy? Read a book, okay?
Yeah,
you know,
I hear that from men a lot too, where they say, you know, women are so entitled. They think, you know, they give these women a number and they say these women think that they deserve tens, or that because they can hook up with a rich guy once, that they're gonna marry that type of guy when really they were just a hookup. You know, they can't actually track that status of a man. So I say that, and I have advice and sexting for both sexes, and I say for women, you know, like definitely be a kind person and have a personality, and just like men, be kind and you know.
In the correction to when we treated women horribly, which is true, and it certainly has been needed and certainly needs to keep going. But in that correction, there's been a lot over the last few decades of just blowing a lot of smoke up their ass about what an ethereal, perfect creature you are.
Body positivity. Body
positivity, that was an outrageous, you know, extension of that idea.
If you're going to say a man needs to be over 6 feet tall, you also got to be bringing it.
Right. But I mean, women were just told that just by being, you're awesome.
Yeah.
Just you, perfect the way you are. Just don't want to hear anything more. You're just fucking perfect because you're you. I mean, that attitude, I'm not exaggerating that. And no, that's certainly not what my generation thought about either sex. You know, you're not born perfect, okay? Get over yourself. You know, make yourself. You want to be with interesting people? Make yourself interesting.
Yeah.
You know, you want to keep up with this conversation. And I mean, honestly, the number of women you could go out and again, this is LA, but I know New York is supposedly somehow the greatest mecca of intellectualism. I lived there twice. I didn't see any difference as far as like the younger people and how smart they were. And they were into the same bullshit, okay? They're the same superficial glitter monkeys everywhere.
Yeah.
And, okay, you can complain about it, but you're not really doing a hell of a lot to make yourself all that interesting. And again, the number of women that I've seen in this town who are under 40, who can keep up in a conversation, it's not a lot.
Wow.
A few, but not a lot. And they all do seem to think that they should be with, you know, the CEO of, you know, some $1 trillion company and, you know, be flying on private jets. And, you know, it's very much like American Idol, you know. Let's skip past the part where I have to learn how to play music and get to the idol part. Let's just skip past the part.
Just give me the record deal.
Let me just marry the guy, and then, you know, I'll learn. And then when we have a conversation, when he's talking to his boss, you know, I'll know what an IPO is.
Yeah.
Because right now, I think it's some sort of UTI test.
I write in the book about plastic surgery and how I think combined with social media and reality TV and just the fact that everyone is hyper competitive among their own sex and they're trying to so desperately get the best, to get the best partner possible. People are going through countless procedures now Looksmaxing, yeah, is very popular in young men.
mean, maybe I don't know what Looksmaxing is, but isn't Looksmaxing what people have always wanted to do, which was just, I mean, I feel like my whole life I've been Looksmaxing. I know it doesn't look like it, but like I can't think of a time, certainly past when I got to puberty. Okay, when I was a kid, I cared about baseball cards and that was that. But once women were in the picture, I did everything I possibly could to look my best. Now, sometimes I was wrong and it was stupid. And, you know, in high school, I grew a beard and it didn't look good, but I could, so I did. But it was in my mind, max your look.
Yeah.
You know, be the best looking version of yourself you can be.
The beard shows testosterone, so you were on the right track.
Well, yeah. If only I knew how to talk to a girl, maybe it would have helped.
But
what's different now with Looksmaxing? Just the surgery?
Well, it's hyperfixated on traits that or physical features that are seen as masculine or associated with high testosterone. So a very strong brow ridge, very strong jawline.
For women?
No, for men. Women do this too.
Looksmaxing is only for men?
Mostly young men, yeah, and boys. In some cases, prepubescent boys.
So that term refers to men?
Yeah.
Oh, that's even worse than I thought.
Yeah. Whereas I do find most of the plastic surgery, like I see young women, like in my hometown, I see plenty of even teenage girls who have a lot of work done, which is crazy to me. You know, they have a lot of injectables. Yeah.
That's so ridiculous.
It's really sad.
Well, because you're perfect at that age.
Yeah.
You have to work hard not to be cute at 19. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, people have done it. Don't get me wrong. I've seen it done. But like you can look at people sometimes who we come to know later in life, famous or not, and you see them like in middle age, and you know they're no great lookers, you know, and then you see a picture of them at 19, you go, wow, they were cute. They actually were cute. You know, it's just nature. It's just our bodies are constantly making replicated cells of ourselves. Each time they make them a little worse. Well, that's really what aging is.
Aging,
right?
The reason we look, you know, our age as we get older is because it's the body signaling to other partners that reproductive health is going down with age, right? Because you are not as fertile.
I mean, and this is certainly something about the psychology that must be going on in women's minds that I've thought about many times, which is so much, no matter how much they try to say we've reinvented humans, we haven't. And it is deep in the DNA of a woman to always be thinking men are interested in the looks.
Because they are.
Because they are. And as I age, that diminishes. Now, I always try to tell my women friends, you know, you're worrying about nothing. This is a different world we live in. The cougars do very well out here. And lots of young guys like women who are 40. But I understand what they're talking about because I've often thought, I mean, I was a funny kid. You know, I started doing comedy. I'm getting paid to be a comedian. Very funny. What if, as I got into my 30s, I got less funny? What would that do to my mind, knowing that as I got through my late 30s, now I'm into my 40s, people don't just find me that funny anymore.
And you can never get back to being as funny as you were in your 20s, no matter how hard you try.
Right. There's no comedy surgery. And even if there was, it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
You know, as Fran Lebowitz brilliantly once said, nobody looks at someone who's 75 with plastic surgery and goes, who's that 35-year-old person?
And I get it. It's unfair, you know, and I imagine especially in this town.
Because I don't get less funny. I get more funny.
Yeah. And similarly for women who get more rich, I mean, if anything, it makes it harder for them to find a guy, right? Because women tend to appreciate a man who gets richer over time.
Maybe it's harder to find a sincere guy.
Well, okay, yeah.
I don't think it gets harder to find a guy.